Sir Davos Seaworth, also known as the Onion Knight, is a landed knight, and a former smuggler who was in the service of Stannis Baratheon, Lord of Dragonstone and claimant to the Iron Throne, whom he served as Hand of the King. After Stannis' defeat and death at Winterfell, Davos remains at Castle Black, where he is caught in the midst of a mutiny among the Night's Watch that initially led to the death of Lord Commander Jon Snow. Siding with Jon's followers, Davos becomes one of his lieutenants after persuading Melisandre to resurrect Jon. He later sides with House Stark and proclaims Jon Snow the king in the north after Jon retakes Winterfell from House Bolton. He currently serves Jon as his principal advisor and right-hand man. Introduced in A Game of Thrones 1996, and subsequently appeared in A Clash of Kings 1998, and A Storm of Swords 2000, Tywin Lannister is the fearsome patriarch of the House Lannister of Casterly Rock, and father to Cersei, Jaime and Tyrion Lannister. He is the Warden of the West and the Lord Paramount of Westerlands, the wealthiest region of the Seven Kingdoms, and was twice the Hand of the King, making him one of the most powerful political figures in Westerosi history. Tywin is a prominent antagonist to Tyrion. Bronn is a skilled and dangerous sellsword who comes to prominence when he champions for Tyrion Lannister in his trial by combat at the Eyrie. Bronn subsequently enters Tyrion's service as his personal bodyguard, assassin, and enforcer, and in return was given knighthood, power, and wealth. While Bronn begins as a common and obscure mercenary, over the course of the narrative his fortunes continue to gradually rise. Bronn is briefly appointed commander of the City Watch in King's Landing when Tyrion is acting Hand of the King. He is then rewarded with a knighthood by King Joffrey Baratheon for the vital role he performed during the Battle of the Blackwater. His status in Westerosi society rises even further when he is betrothed to Lolly Stokeworth, though the betrothal is annulled, and he is sent to Dorne with Jaime Lannister to rescue Myrcella Baratheon from the vengeful family of Oberyn Martell. Lord Petyr Baelish, popularly called Littlefinger, was the master of coin on the small council under King Robert Baratheon and King Joffrey Baratheon. He was a skilled manipulator and used his ownership of brothels in King's Landing to both accrue intelligence on political rivals and acquire vast wealth. Baelish's spy network is eclipsed only by that of his arch-rival Varys. After marrying Lady Lysa Tully, widow of Lord Jon Arryn of the Vale, and her subsequent death at his hand, he became the Lord Protector of the Vale. Because of his relationship with her, Baelish was able to heavily influence Lysa's son Robin Arryn. In the story, Daenerys is a young woman in her early teens living in Essos. Knowing no other life than one of exile, she remains dependent on her abusive older brother, Viserys. She is forced to marry Dothraki Horsa Lord Khal Drogo in exchange for an army for Viserys, who is to return to Westeros and recapture the Iron Throne. Her brother loses the ability to control her as Daenerys finds herself adapting to life with the Khaleesi and emerges as strong, confident and courageous. She becomes the heir of the Targaryen dynasty after her brother's death and plans to reclaim the Iron Throne herself, seeing it as her birthright. A pregnant Daenerys loses her husband and child, but soon helps hatch 3 dragons from their eggs, which regard her as their mother, providing her with a tactical advantage and prestige. Over time, she struggles to maintain control of her dragons. She also acquires an army with which she conquers the cities of Yunkai, Astapor and Meereen, determined to end slavery and injustice there. Despite her strong moral compass, she is capable of dealing ruthlessly with her enemies, particularly the slave masters. After establishing herself as a powerful and relentless ruler, she sails for her homeland of Westeros, bent on reclaiming the Seven Kingdoms. Well received by critics and fans alike, Clarke received Primetime Emmy Award nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actress in the Drama Series for her performance as Daenerys in the HBO series in 2013, 2015, and 2016. She has also earned many other nominations and accolades for her portrayal. Arya is the younger daughter and third child of Lord Eddard Stark and his wife Lady Catelyn Stark. She is tomboyish, headstrong, feisty, independent, disdains traditional female pursuits, and is often mistaken for a boy. She wields a small sword named Needle, a gift from her half-brother, Jon Snow, and is trained in the Braavosi style of sword fighting by Syrio Forel. Arya is portrayed by English actress Maisie Williams in HBO's Emmy-winning television adaptation of the novel series, Game of Thrones. Arya is one of the most interesting characters in the show because she's a child that's gradually losing all respect for human life, a six-season tragedy that's just getting darker and darker. Hanging out with the Hound had a profound effect on her vengeful outlook, but will any remnants of the tomboy that we met in Winterfell remain after her training with the Faceless Men? Joffrey Baratheon was the 18th king to rule from the Iron Throne. He was formerly styled as Joffrey of Houses Baratheon and Lannister, the first of his name, King of the Andals and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, and Protector of the Realm. Though believed by most to be the eldest son of King Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei Lannister, Joffrey is actually a bastard born from Cersei's incestuous relationship with her twin brother, Sir Jaime Lannister of the Kingsguard. He is the older brother of Myrcella and Tommen Baratheon, both of whom share the same parentage. Joffrey's actions during his rule sparked the War of the Five Kings and ended when he was poisoned at his own wedding feast by Olenna Tyrell and Petyr Baelish. This sniveling, psychotic inbred bastard has done all of the following. Ordered Ned Stark to be killed while gleefully watching on it his fiancée Sansa was beaten and abused. Oh yeah, he also asked for children to be murdered. All this without even mentioning his infatuation with murdering prostitutes or defying insulting his own family at every turn. His most memorable moment? The decision that sparked war in the north. Fighting, swearing, drinking. The incredibly brutal fight with Brienne was stunning, but we've opted for one of the greatest bar scenes in TV and film history. I understand that if any more words come pouring out your CT mouth, I'm going to have to eat every FG chicken in this room. Do you know what? He did. After murdering every single soldier there. He probably never saw a fight where he didn't feel compelled to draw his sword. Famous knight and retainer to House Lannister, he is well known for his size, prowess in battle, extremely cruel nature, and uncontrollable temper. He is also the older brother of Sandor the Hound Clegane. The two are mortal enemies ever since Gregor gruesomely scarred Sandor by shoving his face into a brazier when they were children. He later becomes the personal bodyguard of Cersei Lannister under the name Robert Strong. We also loved the sheer hatred in his voice when he delivered this line. Shrewd, charismatic and intelligent. The North remembers. Fans of the show will know that the Lannisters are disliked by everyone outside of Casterly Rock, but Tyrion's intriguing because he's also despised by his own family. Blamed for his mother's death, ostracized by society for being a dwarf and labeled as a degenerate due to his fondness for wine and brothels, you would be forgiven for thinking that he has little bearing on who will sit on the Iron Throne. Maybe that's why he has such a fondness for wine and brothels. Tyrion Lannister, also referred to as the Imp or the Halfman and, while in exile, by the alias Huger Hill, is a fictional character in the A Song of Ice and Fire series of epic fantasy novels by American author George R.R. Martin and its television adaptation Game of Thrones. He is a prominent point-of-view character in the novels. Based on an idea that came to Martin while writing the 1981 novel Windhaven, Tyrion has been called one of the author's finest creations and most popular characters by the New York Times. Martin has named the character as his favorite in the series. Tyrion is a dwarf and member of House Lannister of Casterly Rock, one of the wealthiest and most powerful families in the fictional continent of Westeros. In the story, Tyrion uses his status as a Lannister to mitigate the prejudice he has received all of his life, even from his family. Knowing that no one will ever take him seriously, he soothes his inadequacies with wine, wit and self-indulgence. As the peaceful rule of King Robert Baratheon begins to decay, Tyrion sees how ill-equipped his family are to hold everything together. He first saves his own neck from the vengeful Catelyn Stark and her sister Lysa Arryn, Then he's sent by his father to win to impose order on the capital of King's Landing, as well as his nephew Joffrey, the new king, as civil war begins. Tyrion struggles to strengthen and protect the city and family who hate him and refuse to see the peril they are in. When his father returns, Tyrion becomes vulnerable to the wrath and machinations of the self-serving courtiers who surround Joffrey, including Tyrion's own scheming sister Cersei. Tyrion escapes death again, but at great cost, and in fleeing Westeros finds himself in even more danger and without the Lannister resources. The character is portrayed by Peter Dinklage in the HBO television adaptation Game of Thrones. In 2011, Dinklage won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series and later the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor in a Series, Miniseries, or Television Film for his portrayal of Tyrion in the HBO series. He won the Emmy again in 2015 and 2018. Among other accolades, Dinklage has been nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award in 2012, 2013, 2014 and 2016. Jon Snow is a fictional character in the A Song of Ice and Fire series of fantasy novels by American author George R.R. Martin, and its television adaptation Game of Thrones, in which he is portrayed by English actor Kit Harington. In the novels, he is a prominent point-of-view character. He is one of the most popular characters in the series, and the New York Times cites him as one of the author's finest creations. Jon is a main character in the TV series, and his storyline in the Season 5 finale generated a strong reaction among viewers. Speculation about the character's parentage has also been a popular topic of discussion among fans of both the books and the TV series. We've always had a strong bond with the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch because he's constantly being asked to prove himself. Being a bastard, he was born into a family that never fully accepted him. Just look at the contempt that Catelyn shows him in the very first few episodes. Some characters might buckle under the weight of this underdog status, but Jon did the exact opposite.
A smile on that face. Like the channel and let's have a Joker time. Yeah. And they say I am crazy.